Alright, so we're going to go over the files here once again and a little bit of techniques of what we're going to do on this project. So I've done a little bit of filing on the top here, but not that much. I've done no filing over here on this side, and we're going to go over how to do it. So the most important thing is I can still see all my lines, so I have a game plan, I have a spot to aim for. Alright, I'm not just guessing. And when you guys take your lines because you want to be super close or because you just keep cutting down through it, it just further puts us behind the 8 ball and makes it more difficult for us. So we should never just keep going with a cut. All right, if we start cutting into our line, we stop, we come see me, we come up with a way to correct ourselves. Let's go over the files here. So I have a couple of flat files. This particular file right here is an aggressive file. It's aggressive and abrasive on 1, 2, 3, all 4 sides. So we need to be careful of this. If we had a flat file that was abrasive on all 4 sides, when attempting to file this edge right here, I could inadvertently file right in this groove because I'm abrasive on this edge. Do you understand that? If I used a file that had a smooth side on one side, I would not be making any headway over here. So I would just be working on this side over here, and I'd be in great shape. This is another flat file. This is called a second cut. This particular file is called a bastard cut. It's an aggressive file. It sometimes can be a little bit challenging to use on this soft white pine. So I'd probably recommend that we look for a second cut, or if we use a bastard cut, we are very, very, very gentle, and we have it lowered in our vise a lot. We have some other smaller files. This happens to be a second cut. It says it right down here. This one over here is a second cut as well, and it is aggressive on all 4 sides. It's a rather long file. It's something we could use. We have a couple of half rounds here. This file over here, this particular file happens to be a decently aggressive one. We can tell that this file over here is pretty dirty. So to clean this off, the first time we would just use the brush and see how much comes off. And a good deal did come off. We have a little bit of gum still in here, so we could use our wire brush side, and we could really clean it off the rest of the way with that. These files are rather expensive, to the tune of about $20 with the handle. So it's very important that we're careful with these. They are strong, but they're brittle. When something's usually really strong and really hard, it's brittle. So if we drop them on the floor, they can crack it. It starts adding up pretty fast if we have to replace a lot of these. Filing technique, here's how I like to do it. So I'll grab a second cut here. I'm going to put it with my smooth edge on the inside. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to file not only in this direction, all right, I'm going to be on a slight plane going this way. So you see how I'm working that whole edge? I'm also filing perpendicular or 90 degrees to my project. That's important. Some of us might be on a cut like this, and it's going to make it seem like you want to file on that. We don't. We want to file like this to square it back up, which is why the lower we have it in the vise, the less chance we have of getting it, you know, cockeyed on an angle. I like to have 2 hands. I like to have one out here, one right here, and we're just going to work this right on and out. And we want to go until all of our relief cuts are out. Now, do you see how I'm rotating this, rolling it over that corner? That's shaping it right there. Remember that our file is supposed to be shaping this. I want to crispen up this over here. I'm going to turn it in my vise. I'm going to put it right here. Same thing, my flat side right here. That's good and smooth. If I take a look, I'm going to work my way around this side. I can see quite a bit of my line right here. Now I want to be careful that I don't chip this side off over here. Sometimes I will take a file and I'll just lightly knock off this corner like this so that I don't chip it. And I'm not putting a lot of weight on this. I'm just going ever so carefully. So watch, I'm going to work this around my corner. Do you see how I'm taking the file and I'm going like this around that corner? Ever so carefully. I've got it around that corner. I'm down in there. I'm now going to use my half round file. When I use my half round file, I'm going to go through and I'm going to work this whole area while twisting this file. Just like that. We've got it nice and filed smooth, where we could just go back through and touch it up with some sandpaper. We can just barely see our line, so we're in great shape. You get that for me?